Are we live? I'm so glad that that's going to be the opening of the clip. Hi, welcome to Malvern Books. We're so happy to have you here tonight. And we've got two fantastic poets reading for you. Our opening reader is going to be Sean Petrie. Sean is a founding member of Typewriter Rodeo, whose poetry book came out earlier this year. He has 6 short books coming out in 2019 as part of Fountas Pinnell's Leveled Book series. He also teaches legal writing at UT and thinks Buffy is the best show ever. Welcome, Sean.
Thank
it's great
you.
to have you.
Welcome, big crowd here. So yeah, my name is Sean, and I am part of a group that does, so we do poetry on the spot. And so we set up at different events, and we have these old typewriters, and people come up to us and give a topic or a story or whatever it is, and we make up a poem on the spot on these old typewriters. And so we had a book come out earlier this year of those, and so it's a collection of the poems, but also of the stories behind them, and then some of the people who we wrote the poems for, we were able to reconnect with, and they send us in pictures and things like that. So it's this kind of fun compilation. And Jenna and I have actually, I met her, we were typing in Boston, has it been 2 years? 2.5 years? Yeah. And she does that as well in Boston, and so we kind of got together and we've done multiple gigs together of typing poems for people, and so it's a really cool thing to do. You learn a lot about people and what they ask for poems about, and so it's this sort of unique way to connect with people super briefly and sometimes super intensely, and then they're gone, they're done. And so that's what's in here. So I'm going to read a couple of these in here and give you some of the background for these. So this first one came from, I was up in Portland, Maine about a year and a half ago in the summer, and I was at this coffee shop doing a typing gig there, and this group of regulars were in there, and they were all in their 70s or 80s, and they all came to this coffee shop in the morning. And the one guy came over to me and he said, Dave here wants a poem. He's a lobsterman. Write him a poem about lobster. And I looked at Dave and I was like, you want a poem about lobster? He just kind of sipped his coffee. He's like, okay. All right. Maybe I even shouldn't write this guy a poem. I don't know. And then he looked at me and he's like, my boat's called Empty Pockets. And that was it. He didn't tell me anything more. And I was like, all right, I'm going to write you a poem about your boat. We'll see you. And he was kind of this gruff, he had to be at least 80 years old, New England lobsterman guy. So, so this is the poem that I wrote for Dave called Empty Pockets. Sometimes you pull up those traps, and they're filled to the brim. More lobster than any one person could eat. But other times, most times really, it's just you and that flat sky, those rolling waves, and that chill that seeps through all. And this is why you do it, why you come out here, day after beautifully cold day. This time, when it's just you and the sea. Because even when your pockets and traps are empty, your life is still full. And so I gave Dave the poem after that, he read through it, and he smiled for the first time. And he's like, you didn't know me at all, but you're right on. And then he went around to the coffee shop and showed it to all his friends, and he was grinning and everything, and it was really cool. And then he sent me some pictures. You can't really see him in here, but it's him on his lobster boat and one with him with the lobster traps. And then he wrote this little note, and he said, I was a lobsterman, to me about the poem, I was a lobsterman for 75 years. I had lots of boats. Empty Pockets was my last one. I just sold it a couple months ago. And the hardest thing was watching that boat pull out of the harbor for the last time. So it's really cool that, and he still has that poem and he shows it to people like that. So it's kind of this nifty thing that happens, I think, with people. All right. This next poem here was at the Nantucket Book Festival a couple summers ago, and this woman came up, and she looked at me and she just said, age and invisible. Okay, and it wasn't, she didn't say like invisible, like a superpower thing, right? She was like, and I took it as like feeling old and feeling invisible because of that. And so this is what, and she wrote later and wrote a little blurb about what was going through her head at the time. And so this is what she said, although all she told me was age and invisible. She said, when I was standing in line, I've been thinking about relevancy on and off for the past few years. The businesses that I own, the books that I've written, the places I've lived, other language I speak, travels, meals, love. Often it seemed that those experiences that were asking to be shared weren't relevant to anyone but me. Was it my gray hair? My turn arrived, and I stood in front of Sean and just said, age and invisible. So this is what I wrote for her. It's called I'm Here, for Susan. Those cobwebs up there, the ones that have been slowly forming over time, most folks never even notice them until they absolutely have to. And then they get swept quickly aside. But if you take the time to stop and pause in your oh so important lives, all you people might notice how the sunlight catches those crotchety webs, sparkles and shines into a fancy, fiery filigree of unique beauty. And that's how I am, standing here in the cobwebby corner of your life. If you just stop to notice the brilliant, one-of-a-kind complexity of me. That was for her this season. And into one more here that I like. This was, where is this? Oh yeah. This was here in Austin at Book People had, it was for the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child book release. It was like the midnight book release party like they used to have for all the Harry Potter books. And it was really cool, and everybody's kind of like capturing trying to capture the Harry Potter magic from before. And everybody's dressed up out there in the parking lot, and we did too. We all dressed up as, there were four of us, and we dressed up as one of the four houses, so I was Hufflepuff for that, which was awesome. And so people were coming up and giving some really fun poem topics for that. This is one of my favorite ones. This woman came up, and she said, can I have one about a witch named Ruby, but can you put her in the Harry Potter world? Like, all right, do that. So this one's called Ruby. It's crazy. I still can't believe J.K. left her out. I mean, seriously, greatest freaking witch of all time? Hair even redder than all the Weasleys combined? Yeah, it's her. Sweet, hot Ruby. The story untold, the witch who stole, then broke Voldemort's heart. What? You didn't think all that anger came from just his parents, did you? Nope. That's the kind of scorn that can only come from being dumped. So here's to you, Ruby, the original Voldemort crusher. All right, I think I'll end there and turn it over here to Jenna. So do you want to do a little introduction, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little introduction.
Yay, all right, well, thank you guys.